Okay, so for this part, for your writing assignment, I just need to go over some basic information with you because this week we're going to be doing issue spotting, and issue spotting is the basic skill that we need in order to be able to brief cases, do hypotheticals, things like that, and it'll be a skill that you'll use to kind of work out the direction that you need to go. Um, so um, and I would say this is probably one of the most essential skills that you probably will use because it literally is the foundation of any kind of legal analysis. So without it, you're going to have basically like this big mess, okay? Um so it's kind of keep us organized, but um so what is issue spotting exactly? It's the process of identifying the legal questions or the problems that come from a set of facts. The facts could be in a case brief, the facts could be in a hypothetical, the facts could be what a client is telling you. Okay. And it'll be about asking, what legal problems could this particular situation create? Okay. And trust when I say that you will get a lot of extra information that does not even matter. But we'll talk more about that when we start talking about weeding it out for the facts section. Um, but let's just say that you have like a tenant who refuses to pay rent, but they refuse to pay rent because maybe there's mold in the apartment, right? So on the surface, it might look just like it's a non-payment issue. But once you dig deeper, you see that it's a breach of the implied warranty of habitability. Could be negligence on the landlord's part, things like that. So spotting those issues will help to guide you through the process of getting the case basically resolved effectively. Um, so it again, it's going to be the thing that is going to kind of guide the strategy. You have to identify those correct issues. This is going to be what allows the attorney to focus on what matters. And listen, you might have an attorney who helps out and does all of this. But the reality is, you might not. Okay. It's going to kind of be a hit and miss type thing. And for those of you who want to go to law school and do it yourself, um, better to learn now. But I digress. But it's also going to ensure that the client's rights get fully addressed. Okay. So if you miss an issue, it could mean that you've missed a legal remedy for the client. I also think it saves time. Um, it it's a cleaner way of kind of looking at a case and dissecting it. It helps it would save time and resources in terms of, avoiding any kind of distractions and irrelevant arguments that come from, all of that fluff that I was talking about. But it's essentially like reading a map. Okay. And so you just have to identify the destination so that you can plan how you get there. All right. So it's going to rely on three main things. You're going to be analyzing facts. You have to understand the law, and then you have to connect the dots. Okay, point A to point B. When you're analyzing the facts, it does mean looking at every detail in the scenario. So you're going to have to go through all of that stuff, fluff included, and determine what matters. Understanding the law basically means that you know the legal principles that could apply to those facts. Now, granted, you're not going to be the one that's going in and arguing it, but you're still going to be you're the backbone to these cases. When you're connecting the dots, it is about recognizing how those specific facts are now going to trigger some sort of specific legal issue. And basically, together, those will kind of help you get started on being able to do this. But in um, basically, step by step, step one is to analyze the facts. And this week, I'm giving you an assignment that has a small amount of facts. Again, we'll go through and add more next week, and we'll broaden that particular scope. But you're going to analyze the facts. You have to pay attention to every single word. Okay. Every single word. You have to look like, is there some sort of a date that is significant. Is there some kind of relationship between the parties that's significant? Things like that. Then you're going to categorize it by the legal area. So, like, does it fall under contract law? Is this a personal injury claim? So it goes under torts. Is it criminal law? Is it something that somebody's breached their contract because somebody else interfered, which could be tortious interference of a contract? So you're now overlapping. Different things like that. But then step 3 is gonna be about asking those right questions, and that's the part that we wanna start getting to. So we wanna know, did somebody like, if it's a negligence case, did they breach their duty? Did somebody's, actions meet the elements of, say, a murder? Something like that. And then the last step that you'll have, of course, is drafting that issue statement. And I know it says it's an issue statement, but it's actually a question, okay? So, it will be something that is more along the lines of did dot 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 or does dot dot dot. Did the police violate Fourth Amendment rights when they did this? Okay, simply like that. All right. Did the landlord breach, the implied warranty of habitability when they failed to take care of the mold? Or flip it on its ear. Did the tenant, you know, was the tenant negligent? Well, yeah, we can use was. Was the tenant negligent by not reporting the mold to the landlord? So again, we want to make it into a question. That is the same whether it's a case brief, whether it's a hypothetical, whatever it is. This is the start to our puzzle. Okay. Um, when it comes to doing these, though, the first thing you have to do is to make sure that you don't jump to conclusions. That's because there's a lot of things you might see that needs to be expanded on. Okay. Because people, you have to remember when people are telling a story, when the clients are coming in and they're telling a story, people have a natural um, tendency to not remember when they're telling a story that the person who's listening doesn't always have all of that background information. So we want to make sure that we have that. So go through the facts, analyze it, see where there's something that needs any more information. Because the goal here is to start identifying all of the possible issues before you start digging into the analysis part of it. So we have to break out those facts. And don't overlook something that's minor. Even if it's a minor detail, it can unlock something that's like a bigger problem. Okay. And also, I mean, it might be something that you can also get a remedy for in terms of like if there's a tort claim or something like that. It might be something to where there can be an additional argument. And then also, I would say don't overcomplicate the facts. You have to focus on what is given to you. Okay, so don't make assumptions to what isn't there. Don't add to the hypothetical and don't take away from it. Same thing with a client. When a client comes and tells you about their particular problem, don't add to it and don't take away from it. If, and with a hypothetical, I know it's a lot different because you don't have an actual person that you can ask that information to. So in that particular case, you just have to be a little more clear on what it is that you're trying to say. And again, we'll get into that as we go further into this process. But so and let's say that let me think. Let's say that you have a homeowner, okay, and they hire a contractor to come remodel like their kitchen. And let's say that the person doesn't finish it on time and they leave it. Okay. And the homeowner is refusing to pay. And then the contractor goes and sues for payment. In that particular case, you would have to say, what are the issues here? Right. Now, a real hypothetical is going to be filled with a whole bunch of more information. It's going to have tons of stuff. But for this purpose, again, we're paring it down. Okay. Um, so you're going to have to look and see what are these issues that are involved between the homeowner's claim and the contractor's claim. So you have to decide whether or not the contractor has breached, their contract by not finishing it on time. You would also have to determine whether or not that refusal to pay might be some sort of a breach on the part of the homeowner. Is it a breach on their part of the contract? You might also ask what kind of damages can the homeowner claim because it's incomplete work. Okay. So we have multiple issues that are coming from this single set of facts. When you're doing a hypothetical, we're going to focus on a single issue. Okay. One at a time. We analyze one thing at a time. So each one of those would be analyzed individually, right? In the event that there was something that could be claimed for those. And that's actually homeowner versus contractor, contractor versus homeowner. So it would be the same facts and stuff like that, but you would just be analyzing it from both directions. Again, we'll go into that more. But let's say that you have a shopper who goes into a store and they slip and fall in the grocery aisle. And that's because the floor has been mopped and nobody put up a wet sign, a wet floor sign. In that particular case, let's say that the shopper broke, I don't know, their arm or something. And so they go to sue the store for negligence. Again, you have to think about what is going to stand out here. What are these issues here? Okay. Well, if you've taken torts, then you know that when it comes to negligence, we have this duty of care. So, what kind of duty did the store have for the customer? Did they breach that duty because they didn't put out a wet floor sign? Um, does that lack of warning even constitute negligence? Were the shopper's injuries were they directly caused by the store's actions or inaction? I guess we could say. But that's just kind of like a classic negligence type scenario. But again, we're looking at just breaking this out into these little manageable chunks. Okay. Um, and once you've identified all of those issues, again, you have to figure out how to frame it. Okay. So you have to come up with a good issue statement. And a good issue statement is going to be something that is going to be concise, it's going to be focused, it's going to be legally accurate. Okay. So go back to like the landlord issue with the tenant and the mold, right? Instead of saying, as your issue statement, did the landlord do something wrong? You would have to say, did the landlord breach the implied warranty of habitability by failing to address the mold issue? Okay. So in that second version, it's on top of being longer. It's different. So the first one is so broad and it's vague. Did they do something wrong? Okay, we need more information. The second one is specific, it's professional, and it's also tied directly to that legal principle that's involved that will be analyzed. Okay. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're doing it. Um, Remember that this is not just something you're going to be learning in school. It's not just an academic exercise or anything like that. It is something that you will really and truly use in your everyday practice. Okay? It doesn't matter if you're conducting, legal research, if you're drafting memos, preparing trial documents, all of those things. Identifying those issues is a key first step into making a an effective legal strategy. Okay? So even in like client interactions, issue spotting is going to help you ask the right questions when you are gathering that information, when you're doing intake or even further along, okay? Um it's something that you're going to be doing all the time, and it truly is a skill that can set like great paralegals apart from other ones. Um but just remember, it's it is the process of identifying the legal questions that come from a set of facts. So it's going to rely on that careful fact analysis, the legal knowledge, and your ability to connect the dots. So just remember, you're going from point A to point B. Okay. It's a systematic process, essentially. You can identify those key issues, you can draft those strong issue statements, and basically, you're setting the foundation for building out the rest of it. And this week, I gave you an assignment that has, I think it's 3 hypotheticals, and they're small. They don't have all the extra fluff in there. But for this one, I want you to identify those issues. I want you to draft clear issue statements. If you want, draft more than one. And that way, you can see, ask me which one's best. I don't care. Um, but I want you to also outline like the legal principles that you would kind of think of in terms of applying to that particular issue. Okay. So just please take your time, um, follow the process as I just discussed, and really think about those connections between the facts and the law itself. And if you have any questions or anything like that, just make sure that you ask me. But remember that every great legal argument is going to begin with one single question, and that is, what is the issue? Okay. Master that, and you'll become an invaluable asset, really and truly, to any legal team. And even if you intend to go to law school later on, you'll learn too that when they give you a hypothetical, you'll have a question at the end. The issue becomes the call of the question, and you'll analyze it in the same exact way. Except basically, they give you the issue kind of up front, and you have to fill in all the rest of the blanks. So that's it. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.